The New England Patriots have been synonymous with winning in the past 20 years. 16 division championships, 9 AFC championships, 6 Super Bowl titles. Not bad. Really an unprecedented run of success, especially in the NFL, which touts itself as the parity leader in professional sports. In a league so well known for change, there is really only one other pairing that comes to mind that could rival the relationship between the Patriots and winning, and that is the Patriots and controversy. Yes, controversy. I know New England fans love to wax poetically about how the league is against them and blah blah blah, but maybe that's just a guilty conscience, because every few years there is something that pops up, from the tuck rule to Spygate to Deflategate and everything in between. No matter what, it always seems like the NFL's premier franchise is embroiled in some sort of controversy to go along with all its winning. It is actually kind of shocking that their one constant, the trio of Robert Kraft, Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick, have stayed together amid all of the mayhem. It seems like somewhere along the way that one of them would have grown tired of facing scrutiny from the NFL, or in the case of Brady and Belichick, sought out a massive contract elsewhere. But from all accounts, the three have kept a strong working relationship for the past 2 decades, a relationship that from the outside never really showed signs of breaking. However, according to Mike Francesa, a longtime New York media personality, this may not be the case. Last week, the longtime WFAN host expounded on a call that asked if he thought Belichick would ever leave the Patriots for another team. He said no, but as there always seems to be with Francesa, there was a but. He explained that there was a time following the Spygate situation that it was a very real possibility. Listen to this quote. "There were rumors that he was thinking of leaving years ago, and that's when he got in trouble with the league, and Kraft backed him to the moon, and I think that ended any chance of him leaving." While this may just be typical Francesa extrapolating on an idea that could have very well just have been a murmur in the wind, the premise itself is actually pretty interesting. If Bill Belichick had left the New England Patriots, what would the NFL look like today? Because it damn well would be different. Let's take a look at the first and most direct ripple effect. What would have happened in New England, and where would Tom Brady be? Well, for starters, let's get this out of the way. Tom Brady is a great quarterback. He has been for 20 years. I'm not going to pull a Max Kellerman and yell from the heavens trying to dispute that. But the fact that Belichick is a football savant is equally undeniable. I'm sure if you asked either of them in private, they'd both echo a similar sentiment. Tom is great and Bill's system is great. But when push comes to shove, if you have to lean one way or the other as to who was more important to the Patriots dynasty, it's kind of tough to back Tom. I mean, think about it. The first leg of the Patriots' dominance took place while Tom was still a spring chicken, and much of his role was still very complimentary to the rest of the team. Or in 2008, when Tom Brady tore his ACL in the first game of the year and the Patriots still went 10-6. Or when Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo filled in for Brady during the first 4 games following his Deflategate suspension and the team went 3-1. With results like that, it's hard to argue that Bill Belichick isn't one of the very best at putting his quarterbacks in a position to make plays and lead the team to victory. Just look at some of these highlights that the popular Barry McCockner Twitter account puts out on a weekly breakdown of Brady throwing to a bevy of wide-open receivers week to week.
First play of the game, Brady sets the tone by firing an incredible rocket to Sony Michel, and he forces Sony Michel to juke a couple tackles and get the first down. No other quarterback does that.
It's obviously a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, but the fact remains that those are some pretty open receivers. Open receivers that, yes, Tom does need to, and usually does, hit in stride, but they are wide open nonetheless. This, coupled with all the success that Belichick has had with other quarterbacks, has led many people to believe that if Belichick had left after Spygate, Brady may have skedaddled out west to one of the California-based franchises as he grew up out there. The rumors most closely tie him to the San Francisco 49ers, who at the time were still reeling from a tumultuous change in ownership at the beginning of the millennium and could have used a grounding force like Brady. Who knows how it would have gone, but it's safe to say that amid the 49ers' dysfunction, Tom Brady would not have 6 rings, nor would he be beckoning on the edge of immortality as he continues to cement his legacy as the greatest quarterback of all time. As far as New England goes, this one is a little bit dicier. While the New England Patriots are the modern-day standard for organizational structure and competency, it was not always that way. Before Robert Kraft finally, after a 10-year crusade, acquired the New England Patriots in 1994, they were more often than not a laughingstock in the NFL. Not only were they staking up the field in New England, but they were almost always in discussion for relocation, which is pretty insane when you think about where they stand in the hierarchy of the NFL these days. In the 24 years that the Patriots have been run by Kraft, they have made the postseason 19 times, which is incredible compared to the 6 playoff appearances they made in their first 34 years. This leads me to want to give Kraft the benefit of the doubt that being the successful owner he is, he would have been able to pick up the pieces had Belichick left. But his success is just inextricable from Belichick's reign as the best coach in the NFL. Sure, the Patriots captured 2 AFC East titles before Belichick arrived in Foxborough, but I'm not ready to say that the Patriots were just destined for the success that they had under Belichick, not by a long shot. So maybe if Bill had departed, those Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez run Jets teams become the powerhouse franchise in the AFC East. Maybe the Colts reign supreme in the AFC a few more times. It's tough to say, but I'm fairly confident that the Patriots would not be the Patriots we know today if Belichick left after 2007. It's impossible to consider what would have become of the Patriots and Tom Brady's legacy without considering what would have become of the yin to his mid-2000s quarterback yang, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is sort of the anti-Tom Brady in many ways. The number 1 overall draft pick compared to Brady, who was famously selected in the 6th round out of Michigan. Peyton was always the one winning MVPs and putting up gaudy regular season numbers, but all too often he was famous for falling short in the postseason. Obviously, he ended up winning 2 Super Bowls, even if he really only earned one of them. But if you look at his numbers during the prime of his career compared to his postseason results, it's pretty jarring. In 2003, his first MVP season, Manning led the league with 379 pass completions for 4,267 passing yards and threw 29 touchdowns. He was named first-team All-Pro and obviously made the Pro Bowl. But in the AFC Championship game, Manning was shut down by the New England Patriots' top-ranked defense and posted the 3rd lowest passer rating of his career at 35.5. The Patriots defense intercepted Manning 4 times and sacked him another 4 as the Colts lost the game by a score of 24-14. Then in 2004, Peyton won an insane second consecutive MVP after throwing for 4,557 yards. He also had a then-record 121.1 passer rating and a then-record 49 touchdown passes while throwing only 10 interceptions in a season that was voted second best of all time by ESPN in 2013. Once again, his season, however, ended in Foxborough with a 20-3 loss against New England in the divisional round, when Manning recorded a season-low passer rating of 69.3. Manning exercised his demons to a degree during the 2006 season when he led Indianapolis to a 32-point second half to complete an impressive comeback against the Pats in the AFC Championship game. And while the Colts did finally win a Super Bowl that year, the Patriots would continue to torment Manning throughout the rest of his career. That was largely due to the complex and well-disguised defenses that Belichick has become famous for implementing. It would hardly be hyperbole to say that if Belichick had left New England following the fallout from Spygate, Manning would have at the very least 1, maybe 2 more Super Bowls in Indianapolis. While it isn't necessarily a guarantee that Belichick would have crossed over to the NFC, it makes sense. He does have a good relationship with Patriots owner Robert Kraft, who backed Belichick to the moon during the whole Spygate fiasco. So Bill would have probably tried to avoid going to a direct competitor of Kraft's. Even if he did end up staying in the AFC, at least Peyton wouldn't have to risk traveling to the frigid conditions in New England that absolutely plagued him if he drew Belichick's new hypothetical team come playoff time. Who knows, maybe Peyton doesn't even end up leaving Indy after his neck surgery because the team and the city feel so indebted to him for bringing back multiple championships. In this hypothetical situation, it's very likely that all the sports pundits that like to pat themselves on the back for finally getting with the program and deeming Tom Brady the GOAT would instead be chattering endlessly about Peyton Manning. There is one final piece to the puzzle that is a Belichick-less New England Patriots. We have covered what would happen in the NFL as a whole, and specifically what would happen to the Patriots as a team, as well as what would have happened to Tom Brady and the rivals he and Belichick have gone to war with over the past 2 decades. But assuming he left for another team, what would Belichick himself be up to if he had to depart following Spygate and as a result was no longer winning Super Bowls in New England? This strangely seems to be the most predictable outcome of all. Belichick has been a prominent figure in the league since he became the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants under legendary head coach Bill Parcells in 1985. His tenure in Cleveland was a bit shoddy as they accumulated a paltry 36-44 record, but during that time he actually made it to the playoffs and even won his first-round matchup, which in Cleveland is no small feat, not by any stretch. In Belichick's defense, his entire tenure in Cleveland was marred by organizational chaos. He didn't have the same kind of control that he was given in New England, so it's tough to put out all of that losing on him. After being dismissed by Cleveland's ownership group, Belichick had a couple of assistant coaching stops before becoming the head coach in New England, all of which were, again, under Bill Parcells. During that stretch, he reached the playoffs a couple of times and even made it to the Super Bowl in 1996. I say all of this to say that winning seems to follow Bill Belichick everywhere he goes. There is a reason that the media, his peers, and pretty much everyone around football lauds Belichick as the greatest coach to ever do it. I'd even wager that between Belichick, Brady, and the Patriots, Bill's place in the NFL history would have remained the most similar if he had left New England. But alas, Robert Kraft supported Bill in ways that many owners wouldn't have during the controversy, and as a result, I highly doubt that we will ever see Belichick working the sideline of a different NFL team. At least as long as Robert Kraft is the owner of the Patriots. Still, it's fun to daydream about what an NFL without Brady, Belichick, and Kraft running rampant through it would have looked like. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do that by clicking the subscribe button down below. If you like the video, then like the video, we'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune in to TPS every single day for more cool videos.